I never read the book. I don't plan to ever read the book. And I feel like, it can be distracting, especially with something this long, that it's easy to lose sight of what is actually in the script versus what's in the book.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of not knowing what's in the book, so that all of my information comes from the script, so I won't make that mistake. And Derek was all for that.
Have you had time to look at the menu?
How are we going to prevent the vengeance of God if we have no respect for human life?
We wanted the show to have one look throughout, that it wouldn't be like, now we're in 1913, so the show looks totally different, and now we're in the 50s, so it looks totally different. The idea is to have one story, one family, one idea that sort of permeates the entire 80-something years of the show. In that way, it was like film became the right tool in our minds because that was the correct format for that entire period of time, from 1913 through 1991 or 2.
What'd you do?
You did kind of like 600 hours of shooting, is that correct? Something like that?
Yeah, it's something like that. I think it's maybe a little bit less than 600, but yeah, that's kind of what the number has become. It's a movie. It's a 6.5 hour movie. It's a 400 and whatever page script, right? So it's long. It's a long movie. But I think part of where it comes from is Derek's need to shoot. It's kind of like, when you're got the cameras mounted on a car and you're pulling out of the parking lot to go shoot on a specific road, like he's gonna shoot while you're in the parking lot, like every time, right? So there's that, and maybe he'll get something really great, like in that moment that no one else can see. So there's that of just like, oh, if we're not shooting, you're sort of like wasting time. You never know like what you're gonna capture. There's also this idea that, like rolling and cutting sort of like breaks the feeling of what's happening. And so like, why cut? Like you just shoot the whole mag. 90% of the time we were shooting with 2 cameras. So right there, if you shoot one magazine for each camera, that's 45 minutes of footage just for one take.
Yeah.
So, getting, if you think about it that way, it's not that much footage, but it was that thing of kind of like, well, if you finish the scene, do it again. Like, we're not going to, why cut? And like, maybe the scene just keeps going. So that was where a lot of the footage went.
I'm probably more dangerous than he is. This guy is harmless.
Your brother was placed in a forensic hospital because he's seriously mentally ill.
It was remarkable to watch. Not only Mark, but also Gabe, his acting partner. Mark always has been one of my favorite actors, and the vast majority of it is in camera, meaning it's shooting the A side, coming back sometimes 2, 3, 4 months later to shoot the exact same shot or the reverse of the shot or another shot from the scene that should in theory match perfectly what you did 4 months ago. And so, it's particularly difficult with lighting, as it's like a different season. And so there's a lot of light control that you are thinking through in, prep and on the A side when you're shooting Dominic months before, so that you have a better chance when you come back 3-4 months later to do that same exact shot.
Yeah.
You have a better chance of being able to control it. That was one of the hardest things about shooting, because, Derek is very free-form, like he's very in the moment and very reactive to the actors in the best possible way. So it's like you might think that you're shooting in this direction, and then in the middle of the shot you're shooting in this direction. And so to plan for that while you're twinning, and to plan for like controlling basically like everything you can see all the time while you're working with someone who's very much like sort of almost like documentary in spirit, who wants like all the dresser drawers in the whole house have to have like real stuff in them, even though like you might not even be going into that room while you're shooting. You're really trying to create this whole environment. So planning for that when you never know what you're going to be looking at was tricky, but with the help of our incredible gaffer Ken Shibata and our incredible key grip Johnny Erbschan and the whole camera department, they really made it all come together.
I have to take care of my brother. That's just something that I have to do.
The way the show is scheduled was, there were many, many factors. The most complicated schedule I've ever seen. And it frequently changed. There's just so many different elements, between people's like facial hair and the seasons, because we were shooting for 6 months, and the twinning, and it was complex. But basically, like the main thing was Mark needed to work as Dominic first and sort of shoot out all of the protagonists' work, then take 6 weeks to gain 30-35 pounds. And during that time, we would shoot things that did not involve Mark. And then the last several weeks of the show would be Mark as Thomas. So, that worked really well because we sort of got to like set the tone and like find out who Dominic was, start learning about who Thomas was, shoot a lot of the material from the past in that gap where Mark is not involved because his character is either a child, college age, or it's about his grandfather and his whole journey from to America.
Don't you get it? Your mom is dying.
When we came back to shoot Thomas, we had all watched edits of the scenes and sat down and talked about like all of the elements we needed to build in to like finish those scenes with Mark as Thomas, and like give input and looked at variations of how scenes might be cut. So we need this shot, we might need this shot, we might need this shot, and it was a little bit more precise than the A side, the Dominic side.
What's your name?
Dominic.
I'm Dessa.
Really nice to meet you, Dessa.
The most remarkable thing to me about watching him was I felt that this could just be in my mind, I don't know, but I felt that in key moments he kind of like would slip to the mannerisms of the opposite brother on purpose. To me, like, it's so remarkable that when the couple times that Dominic really loses his composure in the show, as when he's in his college age, you see little tiny Thomas mannerisms kind of like sneak out. And like, to me, that's such if that's really something Phil was trying to do, I mean, it's just a remarkable thing, because most people would be trying to do the total opposite, with all of their energy. But he just had such a command over it to me that I felt like he could kind of like move in between. And, one thing that was special about capturing him just from a technical perspective is that, we had this huge challenge with Mark of like needing to do the A side at one time and then come back months later to do the B side with him as Thomas after he'd gained the weight. So it felt like, it's going to be much easier with Phil because Phil's going to be doing his twinning on the same day. But Derek has this way of always finding the most interesting, difficult, challenging way of doing everything. And so instead of it being like, okay, so we're going to shoot Dominic now, and then when we're done with that, we're going to go do Thomas, it was like Dominic, Thomas, Dominic, Thomas, Thomas, Dominic. And so you just never knew what you were going to be doing next.
You don't just give up on the people you love. I'm gonna get you out of here. promise.